This is KGW News at Sunrise.
President Biden covered a lot in his first State of the Union address. Coming up this morning, our verified team fact-checks some of his major claims.
And Portland's mayor has fired a Portland police officer who used to be the president of their union. How this all started with a false allegation against a city commissioner. Plus,
nothing's been built since before World War II, and yet there's way more water demand. And at some point, that's going to catch up with us.
Talking about how warming temperatures are affecting the wine industry. Part 3 in our week-long series on the local impacts of climate change, coming up here at 5:15.
Good morning, everyone. Happy Wednesday on this March 2nd. We're going to get to the news in a moment, but Rod, take it away with that forecast.
Did somebody just mention we need water? Hey, I have some behind me right here. Today's the finale of this rain event that really started back on Sunday, let up somewhat yesterday, and now it's back with areas of steady rain picking up, and all this is going to be building up to the north in the coming hours. So it's a wet morning for us. We're at 50 degrees. I think for the most part, just look for it to be raining pretty steadily all the way into this evening. So at the bus stop, still really comfortable outside, about 50 degrees out the door, 54 at noon, about 52 with rain coming down when the kids get out of school later today. Back to you.
Rod, thank you.
The State of the Union is strong because you, the American people, are strong. We are stronger today. We are stronger today than we were a year ago.
President Biden delivering his first State of the Union address last night, using it as a chance to unite the country despite his sagging poll numbers. It was a wide-ranging speech dealing with both foreign policy and domestic issues. The president made a lot of claims, and our verified team fact-checked a few of the big ones. Here's Brandon Lewis.
President Joe Biden took to the House floor to deliver his first State of the Union address Tuesday night. The president touted the strong economic recovery underway in the U.S. following the pandemic.
We created jobs, lots of jobs. In fact, our economy created over 6.5 million new jobs just last year. More jobs in 1 year than ever before in the history of the United States of America.
So let's verify. Did the American economy gain more than 6.5 million jobs in 2021? And was that the largest increase for a year ever? Our source is the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. According to those figures, at the end of 2020, there were more than 142 million total employees in the U.S. By the end of 2021, that number rose to about 149 million for a total increase of more than 6.6 million jobs. And that is indeed the largest single-year increase since the BLS began reporting the total number of U.S. employees in 1939. So we can verify, yes, the U.S. gained more than 6.5 million jobs in 2021, more than any prior year. But this claim also requires important context. That economic recovery was already well underway before President Biden took office. Iowa Governor Kim Reynolds delivered the Republican response, where she blamed Democrats for rising prices.
They plowed ahead anyway, raising the price at the pump by 50% and pushing inflation to a 40-year high.
So let's verify. Are gas prices 50% higher, and is inflation at a 40-year high? Our sources are GasBuddy.com, the U.S. Energy Information Administration, and the Bureau of Labor Statistics. When Biden took office, both GasBuddy and the EIA show the average gallon of gas in the U.S. was about $2.40. Today, both sources say the average price at the pump is $3.60, an increase of exactly 50%. Next, let's look at inflation numbers from the BLS, which tracks the change in prices paid by American consumers compared to 12 months earlier. Prices increased rapidly in the 1980s, but then settled to around 3% for decades until 2021, when we began seeing prices spike again. In January, prices were up 7.5%, the most in 40 years. So it's true. Gas prices are 50% higher, and inflation is at a 40-year high. We fact-checked more claims about the State of the Union and Republican response at verifythis.com. With your Verify, I'm Brandon Lewis.
Now to the latest in Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Russian troops have advanced on the country's two largest cities.
And there are hundreds of thousands of Ukrainians who are still trying to leave the country and get to safety. Russian troops have surrounded the city of Kharkiv. Officials say a missile took out this emergency services center. And the capital city of Kyiv also remains a primary target. But officials say a Russian convoy that stretches for 40 miles outside of Kyiv has stalled because of fuel and food shortages. Still, more than 500,000 Ukrainians have already left the country, and that number is expected to grow significantly here over the next several days.
And this is a big tragedy for me to leave my city, and actually I don't know am I going to come back or not, and I don't want to leave, but it's completely dangerous to stay here.
The United Nations says the situation in Ukraine could quickly become Europe's largest refugee crisis this century. There is a show of local support for Ukraine happening on the Oregon coast. There you see the Astoria column lit up in yellow and blue, the colors of the Ukrainian flag. This photo was posted on the Clatsop News Facebook page. Meanwhile, in downtown Portland, the Morrison Bridge also lit up this week in yellow and blue.
And we will continue to follow all the new developments in Ukraine. The Today Show will have much more right after sunrise. You can also find updates online at KGW.com.
All right, back here locally, Portland Mayor Ted Wheeler this week fired a police officer who leaked false accusations made against Commissioner Joanne Hardesty. You may remember this story. The fired officer is named Brian Hunziker, and he also served as president of the police union. An internal police investigation found Hunziker leaked information to a reporter that wrongly accused Hardesty of a hit-and-run crash. The victim in that crash originally had thought Hardesty was the suspect, although that was later disproved. The internal investigation found Hunziker leaked the info partly because of tensions between the police bureau and Hardesty. Here's part of what the mayor said yesterday.
Officer Hunziker's actions harmed Commissioner Hardesty and harmed the community's trust in the police bureau. As police commissioner, on behalf of the bureau, I want to apologize to Commissioner Hardesty for Officer Hunziker's actions.
Absolutely.
We reached out to Brian Hunziker after he was fired, and he had no comment.
The man charged in a crime spree that led to a Vancouver police officer's death has pleaded not guilty. Julio Cesar Segura was arraigned yesterday morning. It was just over a month ago that police say Segura robbed a store in Vancouver, and then later, while he was trying to get away from Clark County deputies, he wound up at the home of off-duty Vancouver police officer Donald Sahota. Police say Segura got into a physical fight with Sahota and wound up stabbing him. When the Clark County deputies got to the home, one of the deputies mistakenly shot Sahota. He died from that shooting, but the medical examiner determined that it's likely he would have died from his stab wounds if he hadn't been shot. Segura's trial is now set for September 12th.
Now to Portland's homeless crisis. Today, Mayor Ted Wheeler says he'll issue an emergency declaration expanding services for people living on the streets. It's not clear yet exactly what that will look like, but we do expect to learn more at a news conference later this morning. In recent weeks, the mayor has talked about creating large shelters or outdoor tent sites for the homeless. His office has also floated the idea of banning unsanctioned camping. Last week, the city also announced 4 more sites for safe rest villages, which will house people all across the Rose City.
All right, 5:08 this morning. Let's take a live look outside. Ugh, look at this Wednesday morning. Raindrops on the lens this morning in downtown Portland for our Rose City Sky Cam. I think it just sums it up, Rod. Ugh.
Is it really that bad? That sounds horrible. But I tell you what, yesterday I stood here and my big story was, it's not going to be that wet today. There's going to be some breaks. There'll be a little bit of light rain around. And for the most part, that was the way the day played out. Today, we're going to be right back into a steady rain event, not the heavy rains that set the records back on Monday. As you look at this weather map, though, you can see it's widespread. All this is pushing to the north, and it will be filling in, I think, up toward Longview and Kelso. Here it is at 9:30 this morning. So pretty wet morning commute. Going to be steady rain overall into this afternoon. The back end of this weather system that really started the rain on Sunday is right here, 7:30 this evening. That's starting to push through. And then overnight tonight, we'll be getting back into some cooler temperatures. Lows will get back down to around 40. And then tomorrow's a typical sunbreak scattered shower day, which is what this shows at 3 p.m. Snow levels tomorrow, by the way, back down just below Cascade Passes at 3,500 feet. It is snowing right now up at Timberline, but it will be still rain today over those passes. How much rain? Well, here we are through 8:30. This shows roughly a half of an inch if you average everything out, more in some areas up and down I-5. Notice lesser amounts at the coast because the wall of rain is going to be pushing inland today. Eventually the coast will be getting into some drying. It's still very mild outside. We're at 50 degrees right now. Other temperatures, I mean, a little bit cooler than it's been. 49 in Forest Grove, Hillsborough, King City. I mean, the last couple of mornings we haven't even dipped into the 40s anywhere, really. Here are the other numbers. And it's freezing this morning again out in Burns and Baker City is at 33. Southeastern Oregon expected to be dry today. 7-day forecast numbers. Today's the last of the really wet, mild stuff. Sunbreak, scattered showers. More typical numbers into Saturday. Dry Sunday, Monday. And probably back to some frosty starts on Sunday and Monday coming up. Back to you.
All right, Rod, don't go too far. We have you here on the show again in about 8 minutes. But this story is next here on Sunrise. The impact of climate change on the Pacific Northwest wine industry. After the break, we're going to see how farmers are learning to adapt to rising temperatures.